This is the most important law and power that I want you to engrave in your brain right now as you listen to me. And it's the following. Everybody has insecurities and has an ego. If you play the game of power right, you will be rewarded at the end of the game. Make them think that they're doing what they want, but in fact, they're doing what you want, which is the art of seduction itself. What's wrong with a lot of villains is they're actually not as smart as you think. They're operating on emotion. You have to understand that the person above you has an ego and has probably a bigger ego than you do. But with an ego comes insecurities, okay? So you must be aware that the person above you has insecurities and probably has more than you do because they're constantly worried. Do people still like me? Am I still doing as well? Am I as popular as I was a year ago? Am I getting as much attention as I deserve? Am I doing a good job? He or she is very insecure. They're thinking about these things all the time. So what happens is if you try too eagerly to impress them and you do such a good job on some project or something, and then all the attention accrues to you for doing that, then you're going to trigger their insecurities. Wow, this person's getting the attention and not me. Maybe they're after my job. Maybe they're more popular than I am. They're not going to consciously think this because they don't want to admit that they're insecure. But unconsciously, they're worried about you. They're thinking things that maybe you're a threat, right? And slowly they're going to build up kind of resentment towards you. And what will happen is you'll probably be fired or you'll be demoted. So if you work hard on a project for somebody else from somebody higher up in your group and you do a great job, you need to tone it down a little bit. Don't take so much credit. Let them bask a little bit in the glory. Let them have the attention. Yes, they're the genius behind the project. I was just executing their desires. That makes them suddenly go, wow, this person, you understand that they did a great job, but they're being a little bit humble. They're giving you the attention, which you deserve anyway because you think you do, okay? But if you're too weak about it, if you're too humble, if you're going, oh, you don't take credit at all, you weren't involved in it at all, that makes you look weak, right? You have to do a good job. You have to try really hard. You have to do the best that you can, but you got to let the person above you take some of the credit, take some of the glory. Otherwise, they're going to be wondering about you. They're going to be thinking that you think that you're better than them, and you're going to trigger their insecurities. This is the most important law and power that I want you to engrave in your brain right now as you listen to me. And it's the following. Everybody has insecurities and has an ego. And the worst thing you can do for your boss, for your colleagues, for the people underneath you is to violate their ego, to make them feel insecure. You will pay a price for it. They will resent you. They will work against you. They will betray you in the end. So never lose sight that everybody around you has an ego and has insecurities. I worked in Hollywood unfortunately, for like 10 years. It kind of inspired 48 Laws. I say unfortunately because I hated Hollywood. But I would work for a film director who would be doing a screenplay. And I would write large portions of the dialogue and I would contribute to it. Nobody ever knew that. It was always his name on it, right? He got all the fame, all the glory, all the attention. And at the time, it kind of bothered me. I was kind of resentful. And then when I wrote the 48 Laws of Power, I had this idea that, Robert, you did the wrong thing. You were stupid. The game of power should have been, that's how things are. Right? When you look at a politician who gives a great speech and everybody's going, wow, that was an amazing speech. Somebody wrote it. He never wrote it. And you never know that name who wrote it. You might, but no one ever gets that attention. When you see some journalist giving some really interesting monologue on television, somebody else wrote that, did all the research and gave them all the notes for that. Comedians. Bill Maher doesn't write his material. He's got a team of people writing all the jokes, right? You never see them. You never know them. Maybe the credits roll by really quickly, right? So that's how powerful people operate, okay? And I should have just accepted it. I should have been more humble. I should have said, that's how the jungle is. There are people who take the credit for it. And if I didn't resent it, I wouldn't have lost energy. If you get too worked up about things, if everything is so dramatic, if you're emotional, if you're reacting against everything, it drains you of energy. It clouds your mind. You're not a good strategist. You're not a good warrior in life. You're not a good power player because your brain is just sinking into this mud of reactions and emotions. So I should have just been more zen about it. This is how the game is. Eventually, if I keep writing this good dialogue and stuff, he's going to let me take credit, or I will get credit for it eventually. If I'm humble, if I'm serious, if I learn the game, if I play it right. If you play the game of power right, you read the book, you understand it, you will be rewarded at the end of the game, right? You will be rewarded. So I wrote that chapter because people in power use that and know about it, but also for you, the person starting out or who's younger, to understand that that's what's going to be happening to you. People are going to be taking your work and taking credit for it, but just accept that. Some people, if you work really hard, you do a great job, and you get attention for it, they won't mind. Your boss will be fine. They'll be happy for you. There'll be no resentment. There'll be no pettiness. There'll be no envy. Great if you have a boss like that. But do you want me to tell you the percentage of bosses who will be like that? It's probably about 5%. But if that's who your boss is, fantastic. Wunderbar, love it, go for it. But the chances are that they're probably not. So law number one is understand that probably they're insecure, probably you're going to trigger their egos, and be a little bit careful. But understand as well, what are their insecurities? What is going to trigger that? So to give you an example from my own life, because I violated this law once, I worked for an awful, awful television show back in the 90s, whose name I won't even mention. I was a researcher for it, okay? And I was the best researcher on this crap show. And best researcher meant that the stories I found were the ones that were most used. I had a higher percentage, right? Kind of went to my head. Wow, I'm hot shit, you know? I'm by far the best researcher on this crew. And I had a boss, a woman, and she ended up thinking I had an attitude. Like, Robert just thinks he's so great, okay? And one day we had a meeting, and I hated these meetings because they were such bullshit. Nothing is accomplished, just people talking. It's just political crap. That's how I felt. So I was kind of like doodling in my notebook. I wasn't listening. She goes, Robert, is something wrong here? Do you think you're better than everybody else? Ended up, she started really harassing me after that. She started harassing me, my job, right? And eventually I just quit because I couldn't handle it anymore. I was sick of it. I hated the job. I hated her, and I hated all the politicking that was involved. Shouldn't life be about doing the best job, getting the best stories? Isn't that what matters? No, that's not what matters in business or politics. What matters is pleasing people, stroking their egos. I triggered her insecurity, which was she didn't feel like she was in authority. She didn't feel like I respected her. That was her weakness. If I understood that, maybe I would have played it differently, but I wouldn't have played it differently because I wanted to quit that job anyway. But reality is kind of harsh. It's kind of difficult. And we all want more pleasure in our life. That's why we go and see movies. That's why Hollywood is so successful. We want to be taken out of our day-to-day lives. We want to be led. We actually want to be deceived. We want illusion. We want fantasy. We want pleasure. And so you want to be the person that's to understand, and some people are vultures, some people you can't trust, some people are tricky, and if you treat them as if they are somebody that you can trust, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, okay? So you have to understand who the people are that you're dealing with. What is their nature? You know, are they somebody that you can actually trust? And sometimes you think that you can trust them because you're not really paying attention. You're not paying attention to those gut things that we're talking about. So I think that comes from a chapter about know who you're dealing with and know exactly the kind of energy that you're getting from people so that you're not dealing with a swordsman and reciting poetry, in which case you're going to get, stabbed and killed. Yeah. So you have to know each person that you deal with. I think about 5% of people actually understand these laws intuitively. And I can't explain why. I don't think it's genetic. It's just there's something to it where they understand, for instance, always say less than necessary, law number 4. They understand that if they talk less, they're not going to say something stupid, and people are going to look at them as if, they have an aura of mystery and they're powerful. They know that. They don't need to read Robert's book. They understand it's in their DNA. And they're people who generally, get very far in life. Okay? And they can often be a little bit more amoral and unethical, than the rest of us. But so the majority, the 95% of us, we don't know these things, right? Because some of them seem counterintuitive. One law that people have actually criticized me a lot for, I think it's number 10, is infection. Avoid the unlucky and the unfortunate. And they assume that I'm saying just avoid people who've had bad luck or who are victims. And that's not at all what I wrote, and you have to read the chapter to understand. But the idea is sometimes people enter your life and they're all dramatic and they're very charismatic and they have all these stories to tell. And usually the stories are about how somebody did something terrible to them. They're the victim, right? There's all this drama surrounding their lives. And it seems kind of interesting, and you become their friend, right? And slowly, you get embroiled in all of their drama. They have arguments with you, they turn against you, then they reconcile. And you find yourself getting infected with their ugly energy, and down and down and down you go. It's counterintuitive to think that somebody who's super dramatic is actually masking, they're creating the drama that is surrounding them. We don't think that way, and I'm trying to show that you have to be a little bit wary about people. You can't just take them at face value. If you're alienating everybody, if you're crushing all of these people, if you're just having lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, there'll be a bounce back effect where you won't have many allies next time you're in trouble, right? Yeah. People will resent you. You'll have more enemies on the horizon. And when you slip up in this media crazy era, all those enemies will suddenly come out of the woodwork, and they'll be on social media, and the mobs will come after you and you'll suffer for it. So there's an aspect of power where you have to play the soft game, where you have to please as many people as possible, make allies, make them think that they're doing what they want, but in fact they're doing what you want, which is the art of seduction itself, And so, that's a huge part of the power game. It's not all about, it's not a book about being aggressive and violent and pushing people around. It's the opposite. It's giving the impression that you're a nice, generous person, but that somehow you get people to kind of do what you want through being clever. You're going to have these very dark qualities. It's just that you want to be aware of them. So these other people, they're not aware that they're behaving this way. I don't want you to crush your enemy totally. I want you to be aware that happens in business all the time, and not be naive with your company that you've, as an entrepreneur, this business that you created. I don't want you to be like that. I want you to be aware of it. I want you to be aware that there are people like that out there. That is sort of the point of the book. You out there are probably a little bit naive, as most of us are, like I was, right? And there are other people out there who aren't as ethical as you are. They play the game differently, right? They're not so concerned with the rules. They bend the rules, and you obey the rules, right? And they have the advantage over you because they're willing to do more than you're willing to do. You have to learn a little bit about their game. You have to play a little bit about what they're doing. You have to play a little bit of hardball back at them, and you have to do it better, because what's wrong with a lot of villains is they're actually not as smart as you think. They're operating on emotion. They're pushing people around. They're powerful. They think they're so great. They're egotistical. They're grandiose. They think that they can't do no wrong. You need to be strategic in dealing with people who are manipulative. If you can be strategic, then you have the upper hand, right? because I don't think a lot of times villains aren't as strategic as you think. I look around me and I think the main fault I see in reading the news and in dealing with people is they don't think long term. They're just reacting in the moment. And in the book, I wrote a book about strategy, my version of the art of war called The 33 Strategies of War. And I call this tactical hell, as opposed to being strategic in life. Tactical hell is you're continually just reacting to what other people are doing. If you can lift your head out of the moment and think a few steps ahead and think, what is it that will actually bring me success? Not just immediately against this person, but 3 or 4 steps down the road. Elevate your mind above the battlefield and think ahead and game it out. And sometimes what you think is going to work immediately is actually the worst thing you can do.